A visit to the library of the Jewish Theological Seminary tells the story of a journey that began in New York in the 19th century and continues into the 21st century. The library's collections are a remarkable witness to the history of the Jewish people. The collection spans over 1,000 years of Jewish history and vividly illustrates how Jews embraced aspects of varied cultures while proudly clinging to their heritage. Join us on a special journey to explore the extraordinary and the ordinary of Jewish life through the ages. We will highlight the library's treasures and show you how we care for them and how we make them available to today's and future generations of students and scholars.
When the founders of JTS began in the 19th century, they aimed at far more than a library that would serve a small number of students and faculty. They set out to establish the finest Jewish library in the diaspora, and they did.
We here at the library have this extraordinary collection of rare materials, including thousands of unique manuscripts, archives, and other things which are irreplaceable and which cannot be found anyplace else.
The current facility has shelving for 500,000 books and seating for 300 readers. The library is also equipped with wireless connectivity and a special reading room for users of the rare book and manuscript collections. The earliest works in the collection come from the Cairo Geniza. Found in a storeroom of the Ben Ezra Synagogue in Old Cairo, the fragments, which came to be known as the Cairo Geniza, tell the story of day-to-day Jewish life from the 10th to the 19th century. Solomon Schechter's life work was to uncover and salvage those shards of history and bring them to the West. 35,000 fragments are preserved here. Some of the highlights of this collection include a letter signed by Maimonides, one of the oldest extant Haggadot, and the earliest known Jewish musical notation from 11th century Egypt. Here too you will find the Esslingen Machzor, the monumental high holiday prayer book written in 1290 in Germany. The Prado Haggadah from 14th century Spain. A woman's prayer book from 1471 Italy, which instructs women to thank God for being made a woman. And a Karaite prayer book from the 19th century. Bibles from around the world tell the story of the Jewish exile. The Toledo Bible was carried by a Jewish scribe expelled from Spain in 1492 and completed in Constantinople in 1497. A commentary on the Torah from Mantua, Italy in the 1470s was one of the first Jewish printed books. Life cycle events are brought to life through documents recording events from birth to death. This book from Central Europe in the early 19th century gives instructions to the mohel on ritual circumcision. And here, another circumcision book, published by the Barbados Jewish community circa 1794. The library's collection of ketubot, or marriage contracts, are fantastically decorated and come from all corners of the world. This one is from Herat, Afghanistan in 1867. And this from Bombay in 1859. An end-of-life scene is portrayed in this image of a coffin, with Hebrew lettering visible on it, being transported to the grave on a gondola in Venice in 1784. The library's special collections also feature unique artifacts that reveal the participation of Jews in the larger cultures in which they found themselves. Yusuf and Zuleika originates in 19th century Persia. These photographs of Jewish brides were taken in India in the 1960s. A ketubah from Meknes, Morocco from 1896. The collection also boasts a prayer book from France written in 1300. A Spanish copy of Maimonides' Mishnah Torah from the 15th century. A sukkah decoration from 18th century Germany. A Megillah from 18th century Poland. A cover of a musical score printed in Russia in the 19th century. A Maxor from Portugal from the 15th century. A birth amulet from Holland printed in 1680. A ketubah from Constantinople from 1830. Young pioneers dancing in the land of Israel in the 1930s. A petition to permit Jews to live in England from 1655. The library is also home to a remarkable and extensive collection of American Judaica, such as the earliest American Jewish prayer book. A Yiddish letter from Pennsylvania, dated 1761. An 1806 lunar calendar from Newport, Rhode Island. A document giving authorization to a shochet, a kosher meat slaughterer, to practice his trade in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1782. Music written to memorialize the Titanic. Sabato Morias's address on the death of Lincoln. And a wonderful collection of synagogue postcards from the early 1900s.
We're the largest collection of Hebraica and Judaica in the Western Hemisphere. And we have many thousands of manuscripts. We have about 10,800 manuscripts, 35,000 Geniza fragments, thousands of rare books. And scholars from all over the world come to us to study these manuscripts and learn from them.
This was an original print.
People come here because they are able within one afternoon to access more documents, more manuscripts, more rare books, more historical artifacts than they can get in almost any place in the world.
The Library of the Jewish Theological Seminary was formed in 1893 with contributions from outstanding private collectors and philanthropists. Alexander Marx, who served as chief librarian from 1903 to 1953, was responsible in large part for collecting the material and making it available to readers.
Alexander Marx, through his tremendous knowledge and through his contacts, and Salomon Schechter through his vision, defined the role of the library as becoming a great center of research and study.
In the 30s, as the danger of war was becoming more and more obvious in Europe, people often understood that if you want to assure the safety of these works, we've got to bring them to the shores of the New World, and the Jewish Theological Seminary Library, as an institution that had already taken responsibility for many of the old works, was seen as one of the best places to assure survival into future generations.
The library's remarkable collection grew tremendously over the years. Disaster struck on April 18, 1966. Fire broke out on the upper floors of the library tower, where most of the books were housed. 70,000 volumes were destroyed, and every other book in the tower was damaged by fire, smoke, or water. Fortunately, rare books and manuscripts were kept in another area and were spared damage.
There were about 60 to 70,000 books that were salvaged from the fire, and they all needed to be reprocessed and recatalogued in the new system that we established post-fire.
We had the books, but we had no library. So there were many levels of activity in terms of the rebuilding. And of course, our goal was to get a new library building.
The staff struggled in these improvised quarters until July 5, 1983, when a new building was completed and opened to the public.
It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling that finally, after so many years, we were able to be in a home that befits the collection.
How do we care for the library's many treasures? The library's Conservation Department, founded in 1989, is responsible for the protection, stabilization, and repair of rare materials. Our professionally equipped conservation laboratory is a leader in using new technologies to preserve rare materials.
Recently, we discovered in our collection a decorated Hebrew marriage contract from Egypt from the 12th century. And our conservation department did an astonishing job removing the grime and the age of this document.
The ketubah, it was really meant to be a work of art. And so by removing that dirt, people will be able to see it in the way it was really meant to be seen.
How do we bring these rich resources to students, scholars, and the public? The library's mission goes beyond collection and preservation. Our collections are also a resource for teaching.
And I tried to give you headers as to where I'm going.
For more than 120 years, the Jewish Theological Seminary's world-renowned faculty has provided a first-rate Jewish education for talented, dedicated students.
I think that what draws students to JTS is its collections. Not only its rare book collections, but its great Jewish library.
The seminary builds on its tradition of intellectual and spiritual promise by cultivating and training the next generation of Jewish leaders.
JTS has students here who are studying to be Jewish professionals in a variety of ways: future rabbis, future cantors, future educators. We also have people who are here to do graduate work, whether for masters or PhDs, and they will go on to teach at the finest colleges and universities in America and around the world.
I like to think of the JTS Library as a sort of think tank of the Jewish people. As a centrist institution and the library of that institution, there's such a wide variety and such an interesting cross-section of individuals, both Jewish and non-Jewish, who use the library.
To reach out beyond the seminary, the library conducts seasonal open houses.
One of the mandates of the library is to be a library of record for the Jewish people. So a couple of years ago we began our open house series. They generate tremendous excitement, goodwill. It sort of opens up the collection to the public and brings them into our special collections.
We've amassed a huge amount of cultural heritage of the Jewish people, and in order to understand the rich life of Jews throughout the world, then it's very important for us as cultural historians to make sure that these materials are available to the scholars and to the students and to the general public.
We also loan items from our collection to major museums and international exhibitions.
There's something about seeing original materials that's far more exciting, far more inspiring than seeing images online.
Our special exhibits program is open to the public and serves to showcase treasures from the library's holdings, such as our extensive and irreplaceable collection of manuscripts, rare printed Hebrew books, illustrated documents, ketubot, megillot, and prints. The library's archives are fertile ground for primary research. The diaries of theologian Mordechai Kaplan have recently been digitized. Digital technology is where the library's future lies. It will empower us to bring more and more of our treasures to you wherever you are.
The digital age has changed what we do here enormously. We've done quite a bit of digitization. Our first stop now for scholars is that they will check for material online.
Bridging tradition with innovation, the library preserves and perpetuates the Jewish journey.
I think that this is a great institution, and I hope that it will go on for many hundred years to come.
What I love about this library is that every day I learn something new.
For me, the ability to be around these rare and historic artifacts, documents, manuscripts is electrifying.
It's one thing when you study history or when you study a culture from secondary sources, but if you have the primary sources at your disposal, if you have them on the shelves, if you can take them off and look at Jewish history, look at Jewish culture, have it in your hands, study the moment that you're talking about, I mean, there's nothing like it.
What we have here to be discovered is endless. And if we really want to understand the richness and diversity and creativity of Jewish life, if we want to understand the true variety and richness, we've got to go back to the sources, and the sources are right here in this collection.
These physical volumes that we have here are the repository of our past, and they are going to take on a kind of sacredness, a kind of importance probably even greater than they have today, because they are the living, breathing soul of Judaism.